Hi, I'm Sarah. Today I'm going to read you the story of Laura, which is titled like this. At a family dinner, my parents casually mentioned my sister's kids would be moving in with me while she was building her love life. "You won't mind, will you?" they smiled. I said nothing. They had no idea I had already moved into another apartment. "Well, let's go." My name is Laura, and I'm 32 years old. I work as an accountant at a trading company, nothing fancy but it pays the bills. I live in a rented apartment on the east side of town, small but cozy. Every other Saturday, I drive to my parents' house for dinner. It's become this routine that I can't seem to break, even though half the time I'd rather just stay home and binge-watch Netflix. But family is family, right? That's what my mother always says. This particular Saturday started like all the others. I pulled into my parents' driveway and saw my sister Jennifer's beat-up Honda already there. Jennifer is 3 years older than me, she's 35, and she has 3 kids, Emma who's 12, Jake who's 10, and little Sophie who just turned 8. They're good kids, don't get me wrong, but they're a handful. And Jennifer, well, she's been divorced for 2 years now, and it's been a wild ride ever since. The thing is, my parents pay half of Jennifer's rent, and I pay the other half. Not that I mind helping the kids, they didn't ask for any of this. But sometimes I wonder if Jennifer would try a little harder to get back on her feet if she wasn't getting so much help. I knocked on the door and heard the usual chaos from inside, kids yelling, my mother's voice trying to restore order, and my father's TV blaring some sports show. "Laura's here," my mother called out as she opened the door. Mom is 58, still works part-time at the local library, and has this way of making everything sound like either a crisis or a celebration. There's no middle ground with her. Dad looked up from his recliner and nodded. He's 61, retired from the post office last year, and spends most of his time watching sports or complaining about his blood pressure medication. "Hey kiddo," he said, "how's work?" Same old, numbers don't lie, but people sure do try to make them." He chuckled and went back to his game. I made my way to the kitchen where I found Jennifer trying to get Sophie to stop pulling Jake's hair while Emma sat at the counter scrolling through her phone like nothing was happening. This is my sister Jennifer. She's pretty, always has been, with blonde hair and blue eyes that she knows how to use to her advantage. But she's also the kind of person who thinks the world revolves around her problems. Since her divorce, she's been on this mission to find a new husband, going on dates constantly and leaving the kids with whoever's available. Usually me. At least twice a week, Jennifer shows up at my apartment after work with all 3 kids in tow. She'll have that look on her face, you know, the one that says she needs a favor but she's going to act like she's doing you one. "Hey Laura," she'll say, "I know this is last minute, but I have a date tonight and I really need someone to watch the kids." And what am I supposed to say? No, let the kids suffer because their mother can't plan ahead? So I end up canceling my plans, ordering pizza for 4, and spending my evening refereeing fights and trying to get 3 kids to do homework they don't want to do. Emma's okay, she's almost a teenager and mostly keeps to herself. But Jake and Sophie? They're like tiny tornadoes. They fight constantly, they're picky eaters, and they have more energy than a power plant. By the time Jennifer comes back around 11 p.m., I'm exhausted and they're finally asleep. "You're the best sister ever," she'll say, scooping up the sleeping kids. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Then she's gone, and I'm left cleaning up the mess and wondering why I never say no. The weekends are even worse. Jennifer and Mom will decide they need to go shopping, and somehow I end up babysitting all day. Not asked, told. Like it's just assumed that I have nothing better to do with my time. I've tried bringing it up before. I've said things like, "Jen, I need some personal time too," or "maybe we should set up a schedule so this isn't always last minute." But every time I do, she starts crying and talking about how hard it is to be a single mom, and how she just needs to find someone who can be a father to her kids. Then my parents jump in with their favorite lecture about how family comes first, and how I'm being selfish for not wanting to help my sister in her time of need. Selfish? Like I haven't been helping for the past 2 years. but tonight felt different. As we all sat down for dinner, Jennifer had this look on her face. She was practically glowing, and she kept exchanging these knowing glances with my parents. "So," she said, cutting into her pot roast, "I have some news." My parents nodded like they already knew what was coming. "I met someone," Jennifer continued. "His name is David, and he's really great. We've been seeing each other for about 3 weeks now." "That's wonderful, honey," Mom said, beaming. "The thing is," Jennifer went on, "I really think this could be something serious. He's different from the other guys I've dated. He's stable, he has a good job, and he's looking for something real." I waited for the other shoe to drop. There's always another shoe with Jennifer. "The only thing is," she said, glancing at the kids who were making a mess of their food, "I haven't told him about Emma, Jake, and Sophie yet. I want to make sure we're solid before I bring them into it." I should have seen it coming. Jennifer never just shares good news, there's always a catch, always something she needs. "So anyway," Jennifer continued, completely ignoring the fact that Sophie was now flicking peas across the table at Jake, "David asked me to go away with him this weekend. There's this really nice mountain resort about 2 hours from here, and he got us a cabin." My fork froze halfway to my mouth. "Here we go." "The thing is," Jennifer said, looking directly at me now, "I need someone to watch the kids. Just for the weekend, Saturday morning to Sunday evening." I put my fork down. "This weekend? Jennifer, I can't. It's my best friend Amy's birthday party on Saturday night. I already RSVP'd and everything." The table went quiet, even the kids stopped their shenanigans and looked up. Before Jennifer could answer, Mom jumped in. "Laura, honey, your sister is more important than some friend's birthday party." "Some friend," I felt my voice getting louder. "Amy has been my best friend since college. And I'm tired of being the default babysitter every time Jennifer has a date." Jennifer's eyes were getting watery. "I can't believe you're being like this." "I'm being realistic, I watch them twice a week already. I pay half your rent. When do I get to have a life?" "You're being selfish," Mom said sharply. "Jennifer needs to establish her personal life. Then maybe she should tell David about the kids instead of lying." Jennifer's face went white, then red. She grabbed her purse and the kids' backpacks, practically dragging them out the door. Sophie was crying now, not understanding why everyone was upset. I heard the car door slam and the engine start. The house fell silent except for the tick of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Then it started. "Are you happy now?" Mom asked, her voice cold. "She's a single mother going through a hard time. She deserves to find someone who can be a father to those children. And I deserve to have my own life." "You're being selfish, Laura, family comes first." "Fine, you care so much about Jennifer's love life, you watch Emma, Jake, and Sophie for the weekend." "I can't do that," Mom said immediately. "My back has been killing me all week. I threw it out moving that bookshelf. And I've got blood pressure issues," Dad added. "Doctor says I need to avoid stress." 3 kids for a whole weekend? That's too much." They kept going. For 20 minutes, they tag-teamed me with guilt trips and accusations. I was selfish, I was ungrateful, I didn't understand what real responsibility meant. Jennifer had sacrificed everything for those kids and the least I could do was help her find happiness. By the time they were done, I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. These were my parents, the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, and they were treating me like I was some kind of monster for wanting to go to my friend's birthday party. "Fine," I said finally, "I'll watch them." "Oh honey, that's wonderful, I knew you'd come around. You're such a good sister." I drove home in a daze. The first thing I did was call Amy. "Hey girl, what's up?" "I can't make it tomorrow night, family emergency." "Oh no, is everything okay?" "Yeah, it will be." "I'm sorry, I know how much work you put into planning this." "Don't worry about it, there will be other birthdays." But as I hung up, I wondered if there would be other friendships. Saturday morning came too soon. At exactly 9 a.m., Jennifer showed up at my door with 3 duffel bags and a huge smile. you're a lifesaver, she said, practically bouncing. I packed enough clothes for 2 days, and there's snacks in Emma's bag. Oh, and Jake needs his inhaler if he gets too worked up. The weekend was a nightmare. Jake and Sophie fought constantly. Emma was moody and kept asking when her mom was coming back. They didn't like anything I cooked. They complained about being bored. They made a mess of my living room with their toys and games. Sunday afternoon, while I was in the kitchen making sandwiches, I heard a crash from the living room. I ran in to find my TV screen cracked and Jake standing there with a remote control in his hand. I didn't mean to, he said, starting to cry. Sophie pushed me and I threw it. I did not, Sophie yelled back. My brand new TV. The one I'd saved up for months to buy. Destroyed. I spent the rest of the day trying to figure out how to get it repaired while keeping the kids from destroying anything else. Sunday evening, Jennifer finally showed up around 8. She looked relaxed and happy, like she'd had the best weekend of her life. How did it go? She asked, barely glancing at the kids who were already putting on their shoes. They broke my TV. Oh, that's too bad, kids, you know, she shrugged, ready to go home. Guys? That was it, no apology, no offer to help pay for repairs, no thank you for giving up my weekend. She packed them up and left, and I was alone in my apartment with a broken TV and the smell of spilled juice ground into my carpet. A few weeks passed. I got the TV fixed, which cost me $300. I caught up on the work I'd missed while dealing with the kids all weekend. I tried to get back to normal. Then I ran into Sarah at the grocery store. Sarah is Jennifer's friend, but we'd gotten close over the years. She's one of the few people who knows how much Jennifer relies on me for babysitting. Laura, hi, she looked a little uncomfortable when she saw me. Listen, I need to tell you something. I probably shouldn't, but I think you should know. My stomach dropped. What? I had coffee with Jennifer yesterday, and she told me about her plans with David. What plans? Sarah looked around like she was afraid someone would overhear. She wants him to move in with her, but she still hasn't told him about the kids. What do you mean? She's planning to send Emma, Jake, and Sophie to live with you for a few months. Just until she can ease David into the idea of having kids around. I stared at her. She wants to what? She figures you can take care of them during the day while you're at work, maybe hire a babysitter if you need to. She said you wouldn't mind since you don't have kids of your own. A babysitter that I would pay for? Well, yeah, she said she'd be tight on money with David living there. I thanked Sarah and somehow made it through the rest of my shopping. But all I could think about was Jennifer's plan. She wanted to dump her kids on me for months, make me pay for their childcare, and lie to David about their existence. How could she even think of such a thing? After Sarah told me about Jennifer's plan, I couldn't sleep for 2 days. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined coming home from work to find 3 kids waiting for me, day after day, for months. I pictured myself paying for babysitters I couldn't afford while Jennifer played house with David, pretending she was childless. At first, I thought about confronting her. I imagined calling her up and screaming about how selfish and crazy she was. I thought about showing up at my parents' house and telling them exactly what I thought about their precious daughter's latest scheme. But then I realized something. If I made a big scene, they'd just guilt-trip me again. Mom would cry about Jennifer's hard life. Dad would lecture me about family loyalty. Jennifer would sob about how I was ruining her chance at happiness. And somehow, I'd end up watching those kids anyway. So I decided to be smarter about it. The next morning, I called my landlord, Mr. Peterson. He's this older guy who owns 3 rental properties in town. I've been a good tenant for 2 years, always paid on time, never caused problems. Mr. Peterson, it's Laura Mitchell. I need to ask you about breaking my lease early due to family circumstances. As soon as possible. Well, you've been such a good tenant, Laura. If you can be out by the end of next week, we'll call it even. I've got someone interested in the place anyway. I hung up feeling lighter than I had in weeks. I had 2 weeks to find a new place and move. 2 weeks before Jennifer's plan went into action. I spent my lunch breaks apartment hunting. I wanted something on the other side of town, far enough away that Jennifer couldn't just show up unannounced. I found a perfect place, a one-bedroom apartment in a complex near the river. It was actually cheaper than my current place, and the landlord could have me moved in within a week. I took vacation days to pack and move. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. Not my parents, not Jennifer, not even Amy. I just quietly transferred my stuff to the new apartment, box by box. By Thursday, I was completely moved into my new place. I sat in my new living room, eating takeout Chinese food, when my phone rang. It was Mom. "Laura, honey, I wanted to invite you to dinner on Saturday. Your father's making his famous barbecue ribs." Her voice sounded weird, like she was trying too hard to sound casual. I knew exactly why she was calling. This was going to be the dinner where they'd spring Jennifer's plan on me. Saturday afternoon, I drove to my parents' house knowing this would probably be the last family dinner I'd have for a long time. But I was ready for it. Jennifer's car was already in the driveway when I arrived. Through the window, I could see Emma, Jake, and Sophie running around the backyard while Dad worked at the grill. "Laura," Mom hugged me when I walked in, perfect timing. "We're almost ready to eat." We sat down at the picnic table in the backyard. The kids were being relatively well behaved, probably because they were outside and had room to run around. "So," Jennifer said after we'd been eating for a few minutes, "I have some exciting news." Mom and Dad exchanged glances. They definitely knew what was coming. David and I have decided to take our relationship to the next level. He's going to move in with me for a few months, kind of like a trial run before we talk about getting engaged. "That's wonderful, honey," Mom said. "The thing is," Jennifer continued, looking at me, "he's not ready to jump into the whole family thing yet. So I thought maybe Emma, Jake, and Sophie could stay with you for a while. Just until David gets comfortable with the idea of having kids around." I nodded and kept eating my ribs. "It would just be for a few months," Jennifer went on. "And I know you'd need help during the day while you're at work, so I thought you could find a babysitter. I mean, you don't have kids of your own, so you have more flexibility with your money." Still nodding, still eating. "Once David sees how great I am in a relationship, he'll be ready to meet the kids and become their stepdad. It's perfect for everyone." Mom jumped in, "We think it's a wonderful opportunity for Jennifer to secure her future. And the kids love spending time with you. It's really important for Jennifer's happiness," Dad added. "This could be her chance to give those kids a real family." I finished my last bite and wiped my hands on my napkin. "When were you thinking of doing this?" "Well," Jennifer said, "I was hoping maybe next Saturday. David's lease is up at the end of the month, so we want to start fresh." "Next Saturday, so in a week." "Exactly, I know it's short notice, but you're so good with the kids, and you don't really have anything else going on." I smiled. "That sounds fine." Jennifer's face lit up. "Really? Oh my God, Laura, thank you so much. This is going to change everything for us. The kids will love living with their aunt, and David will fall in love with me without any distractions." We finished dinner and I helped clean up. Jennifer was practically glowing as she told me about her plans for redecorating the apartment to make it more adult without kid stuff everywhere. "I'll bring them over Saturday morning with all their things," she said as we loaded the dishwasher. "They'll need their school clothes and everything since they'll be staying through the week." "Of course. And I'll give you money for the babysitter once David and I get settled." "Sure." When I left that night, Jennifer hugged me tighter than she had in years. "I love you so much, Laura, you're saving my life." I drove back to my new apartment, which my family didn't even know existed, and smiled the whole way home. Saturday morning was going to be very interesting. Saturday morning, I woke up in my new apartment and made coffee. I sat by the window, watching the river flow past, and waited. I knew exactly what was happening across town. At 9 a.m. sharp, Jennifer would be knocking on the door of my old apartment with 3 kids and enough luggage for months. She'd probably be excited, maybe even relieved to finally be getting rid of her baggage so David could move in without knowing about them. My phone started ringing at 9:15. Jennifer's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again at 9:20, then 9:25. I turned the volume off and went back to my coffee. By 10 a.m., I had 12 missed calls and 15 text messages. I finally opened them. "Where are you?" "Laura, we're at your apartment but nobody's answering." "Why is there a phone number taped to your door?" "We called the number and it's your landlord. He says you moved out." "What's going on?" "This isn't funny, David is supposed to move in today." Then my parents started calling. Mom's name appeared on my screen over and over. Dad texted me, "Call us immediately, your sister needs you." At 11 a.m., Jennifer sent a long text, "I don't understand what's happening. Your landlord says you moved out last week. Where are you? David is coming with his stuff this afternoon. The kids are scared and confused, please call me back." I put my phone on silent and went for a walk along the river. When I came back an hour later, I had 23 missed calls. The texts were getting more desperate. "Laura, please, I'm begging you. I don't know what to do with the kids. David just called. He's loading his truck now. I need you to take Emma, Jake, and Sophie right now. My whole future depends on this, you can't do this to me." I made myself lunch and read a book. My phone kept buzzing, but I ignored it. Around 4 p.m., I got a text from Jennifer that was just, "I hate you." At 6 p.m., my cousin Rachel called. Rachel is Jennifer's age but way more sensible. We'd always gotten along well. "Laura, thank God you answered. I just got off the phone with your mom, what happened?" I told Rachel everything. About the constant babysitting, about Jennifer's plan to dump the kids on me for months, about the weekend disaster where they broke my TV, about how my parents always took Jennifer's side. Rachel was quiet for a long time. "Jesus, Laura, I had no idea it was that bad." Nobody did, because every time I tried to talk about it, I was being selfish. "So you just disappeared?" "I moved, I have a new apartment across town. They can't find me because I don't want to be found." "Well, what happens now?" "I don't know, but I'm not going back to being Jennifer's free babysitter." "Good for you," Rachel said, honestly, good for you. 2 weeks later, Rachel called again. "You're not going to believe this." I got the full story about what happened with David. When Jennifer couldn't get the kids to you, she was stuck. David showed up with his moving truck, ready to move in, and there were 3 kids there that he'd never heard about. Jennifer had to confess that she'd been lying to him for months about having children. He was so angry about the deception that he loaded his stuff back up and left immediately. I wasn't surprised, but I felt a little sad for the kids. They didn't deserve to be treated like dirty secrets. How's she taking it? Not well, she's been calling everyone in the family, trying to get them to convince you to come back. But honestly, Laura, people are starting to see through her drama. Uncle Mike asked Mom why you were expected to raise Jennifer's kids when Jennifer should be doing it herself. A few days later, Mom called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Laura," her voice was cold, "we need to talk. You destroyed your sister's life. David was perfect for her, and now he's gone because you refused to help your family." "Mom, Jennifer destroyed her own relationship by lying about having kids. She was protecting her future. She was being dishonest, and she expected me to help her lie. You're excluding yourself from this family with your selfishness. You excluded me first, when you decided my life didn't matter as much as Jennifer's." Mom was quiet for a moment. "What do you want from us, Laura?" "I want you to understand that I'm not Jennifer's backup parent. I'm not her free babysitter. I have my own life." "So you'll never help with the children again?" "I'll never be taken for granted again." "Then I guess we have nothing more to talk about." "I guess not." She hung up. That evening, I got a text from Jennifer. It was brutal. "You are dead to me, I never want to see you again. You ruined my life and I will never forgive you. After reading that message, I did something I'd been thinking about for weeks. I logged into my bank account and canceled the automatic transfer for Jennifer's rent. Half her rent money was gone, just like that. I screenshotted the cancellation and texted it to Jennifer with a message: "Since I'm dead to you anyway, I figured you wouldn't want my help with your rent either." Then I blocked her number. I blocked Mom's number too, and Dad's. For the first time in 2 years, my weekends were my own. I could make plans without worrying about Jennifer showing up with 3 kids. I could go out after work without checking my phone for emergency babysitting requests. I could live my own life. Amy threw me a belated birthday party to make up for the one I'd missed. "You seem different," she said as we ate cake, happier. I feel different, like I can breathe again. It's been 3 months now since I disappeared from my family's life. I don't know when or if I'll talk to them again. Part of me misses them, especially the kids. But I don't miss the constant guilt trips. I don't miss being treated like my time and money don't matter. Rachel updates me sometimes. Jennifer had to move to a cheaper apartment when she couldn't afford the rent. She's dating again, but this time she's upfront about having kids from the first date. Mom and Dad are helping with babysitting more now that I'm not available. Maybe someday we'll work things out. Maybe Jennifer will apologize for taking advantage of me. Maybe my parents will realize that loving your family doesn't mean sacrificing your entire life for them. But until then, I'm learning what it feels like to put myself first. And it feels pretty good.